I'm joined by Jordan Page. Like literally, I'm not sure if we could get too much further apart. I'm on the East Coast, the Southeast. He's in the Northwest of Northwest, just a few miles from Canada. Man, what an interesting and intriguing guy. This guy is a recording artist, children's author. Him and his wife, 7 kids already. Do you have? I'm like, yeah, come on, man. I got 4, and I'm like, yes, come on, bro. 7 kids, homeschooled all 7 kids. And then in the process, God really just began to stir something in your heart to create a platform for other homeschool kids called Firefly. And dude, again, recording a new worship album you got dropping here soon. Dude, welcome, number one, to Proximity. It's good to connect and good to hear. I can't wait to dive into your story. Take just a second, Jordan, and kind of fill our audience in and maybe fill some gaps that I might have missed in that intro, man.
Sure, yeah, no problem. It's great to be on here, Ken. Thanks for having me. I don't see myself. Does that matter? That
Now you should be. I can see you.
you can see me great. Okay,
No,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I got you, bro.
So, I mean, we have been on this crazy journey that the Lord has had us on for many, many years. You know, my wife and I met in 2004, and I just knew from the moment I saw her that she was the one. It was like the Lord just anointed her and showed me she was the one. And we have been on a journey of faith together this entire time, and he has blessed us with so much. The greatest blessing, of course, is his love and and
Mm.
his presence in our lives, which has translated into the foundation of our marriage. And he's also blessed us with these amazing 7 kids that have transformed our lives as well. And then this is the greatest work that either of us will ever do. I've done a lot of things in my life, and but nothing even comes close to the importance of raising my kids the right way. So
That's right.
we've we've lived all over, but the Lord brought us to Washington State. This is Shangri-La. We've really found our community and where He wanted us to be. We started homeschooling our kids. When my oldest, who's 18 now, he was
Mhm.
4. So it's been 14 years, which is hard to believe. Um, and we really realized early on, like taking a hard look at who we are and how what our upbringing was like, basically being raised by the state in the public
Mm.
schools, and the impact that had on us, and what we did not receive that we should have received growing up into adulthood, and how we were not prepared for adulthood by growing up in the public school system, and we wanted better for our kids. And so we started homeschooling about 14 years ago, and I've really tried every version of it. We've seen every iteration, and our kids have had just such great success with it. Our oldest is about to enter college as a junior. He's getting his associate's degree, with his college diploma, and
Mm.
then he is on a fast track to get his master's degree by the time he's
Mm.
20. So that is direct result of the homeschooling journey. And I'm not saying that those results are going to be typical for everyone, but that certainly would not have been the case for him had he been going through the public school system. It just
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
That would be extremely rare in
So
that
you
situation.
guys, so you guys started homeschooling your oldest before he even got to school.
He had been in preschool, and he's a little bit on the spectrum, and
Mhm.
he was not participating in preschool the way the teachers thought that he should, and they encouraged us to punish him for
Mm.
for not engaging
Mm.
in school. And I said, you know what, we're not doing this. We're just not going to do this. Nobody is going to love our kids the way that we do. Nobody is going
Right.
to be more invested in their education and their success than we are. And I mean, I've been a musician for all my life, and a professional musician for my entire adult life, and so I would tour quite a bit, and I was on the road a lot. But my wife really picked up the mantle as a primary educator, and
Mm.
she just hit home run after home run. Of
Yeah.
course, when you're a homeschool parent, you always feel like you're failing, or at least periodically you feel like you're failing. And she certainly struggled with that at times. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say, and our kids are doing so well. And during right around the time that COVID hit, around 2020. my wife went back and got a second master's degree. She has a master's in public administration, but she went back and got another master's in teaching. And during that period, we really came face to face with what I would call the agenda in the public school system. And you really discover that when you're seeing what they're teaching teachers. But she wasn't some 20-year-old, like in college who wet behind the ears. Like, she's been on this, journey, with me this, the last 20 years, and we knew better. And so what she was reading in these textbooks was so insidious and quite, not to put too fine a point on it, but very anti-life, anti-Christ, anti-family.
Now, how was this before your 4-year-old? Was this like after you had an issue where they were like, hey, he's not involved enough? You guys, I guess, probably realized, when he was on the spectrum. I tell people all the time, listen, if you're a high-performing entrepreneur, you're probably on the spectrum somewhere.
True.
I mean, it's 1,000% true. But tell me a little bit about the conversation between you and your wife with your first. It's not like you had, you were on number 5, 6, or 7. This is your first one, and you had the issue. Tell me a little bit about the conversation with you and your wife on whose idea was it? Was it something you guys came up together? Jordan, talk to me about, like, because that's a pretty hefty conversation to have as a parent.
Absolutely. It was definitely a mutual thing. I think that she realized that she was going to be the primary educator, and she was not exactly confident at that time. This is 14 some years ago. She wasn't exactly confident at that time that she'd be able to give our kids a proper education, because she didn't have training as a teacher. And this is the great myth that we really want to dispel with Firefly, is that you are not qualified to teach your own kids. Of course you are. There may be some subjects that don't come naturally to you, but that's where community comes in. And that's another thing that we're providing with this platform, is the community and access to teachers. But we had a big heart-to-heart. It was actually as many conversations, but we both had the same knee-jerk reaction when the school was telling us to punish him. We were like, but he would come home and tell us everything he had learned. He just wasn't participating the way that they thought he should. And I'm like, we're not going to let these people put him in a box. That is not happening, And so we just decided to overcome any misgivings or apprehensions that we had, and especially that my wife Mary had, and she overcame it out of love for him. And we want to encourage parents everywhere to do the same thing. Like, just because I can't teach my kid trigonometry, for example, because I didn't do too well in trig, okay, doesn't mean that I can't be an educator for my kids. And in fact, there's probably nobody more qualified than me and my wife to teach our kids, because education isn't just about reading, writing, arithmetic. It's also about growing a whole person and instilling a set of values, into your kids. And we see the fruit of the public school system every day in the headlines and on social media. It's really kind of an insidious situation. And like, as an artist, I have written a lot of songs about the state of the world, the state of our country, and where things are going, and with a spirit to try to turn things around. And bring our country back to Christ, and bring it back to sanity at the very least. And I had a long talk with the Lord about why, with all the good work that I've done, yet things are still, going in the same direction. And the good work that so many people have done, that the message I got back was that the root on the tree of tyranny that needs to be cut is the education system, because the answer is they, them, those have control of everyone's children. And so, and controlling their minds to grow up to hate their country, to hate themselves, to hate their families, to question reality itself. All these kids are at war with their own bodies. And that is a demonic thing that comes out. That is the fruit of the public school system. That's where
they don't. Our public
accepted.
school system hasn't changed in 100 years. It's still designed to create factory workers.
Correct.
memorization and all the things. It's not designed for the creative. I don't know if you know Erwin McManus or not. Erwin's a dear friend. He pastors Mosaic in LA. And I remember he said something about a study, he quoted a study, Jordan, from when they tested a group of children 30 years ago, when they were 2, 3, and 4 years old. Like 80 to 90% of those children tested as geniuses. And by the time they were out of the public school system at 18, it was less than about 3%.
Yep.
Because the genius is there. The genius doesn't go anywhere. We literally drive it out based on how we teach kids. There's another story from Ken Robinson. He wrote this about Jillian Lynn. And so Jillian Lynn, when she was young, her mom, she was having problems. She couldn't sit still in school. I was the guy who talked a lot, right? Ken talks too much in class. I was that guy. But Jillian Lynn couldn't sit still. The mom takes her to a psychiatrist, and they're doing all these interviews, and they're having conversations with this young girl. And the doctor goes, your mother and I are going to wait over here in the other room. We're going to leave you here. Well, before he leaves, he turns some music on, and they walk into another room with a see-through mirror so they can actually watch her. And so she got up and just started dancing and moving around the room. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with your daughter. She just needs to move to think. And she went on to be the choreographer for Cats, Phantom of the Opera, and all. She's one of the most famous choreographers in the world.
There you go.
But in that setting, in that just our public school setting, and this is obviously in England, it's very similar. It didn't adapt to her, and our school system wasn't set. So what would you say, real quick, Jordan, before we continue with your story, what would you say to parents who are like, I'm not happy with the way the public school system is. I would love to homeschool. What would their first step be?
Well, and that's why I'm here, is to tell people about what we've built, which is called Firefly Education Network. We built it specifically for those folks. So if you are trying to get out of the public school system and you want to give your kids something better, we have created a technology platform that is essentially the operating system for worldwide homeschool movement. And so we're providing you, number one, with community. We've got an entire social platform where you can connect with other homeschool families, other like-minded folks who feel the same way. Really anything that Facebook has is on Firefly, except no data mining, and we're not turning your information over to the alphabet soup agencies. We have a number of automation tools. One is a course builder that will generate full courses for you just in minutes on any subject, really. If your kid wants to learn about volcanoes, you prompt it to create a course on volcanoes, and it'll give you a standards aligned first class course on volcanoes and everything about them. And you can customize it. Once the automation is done, then you can go in and customize and edit and add pictures and videos and worksheets, and you can essentially create your own curriculum based on your child's interests. And there's also a large collection of courses that the community has been curating. So whenever I make a course and I publish it, everyone has access to it, and vice versa. If you make a course for your kids, me and my kids can use it too. We are internationally accessible, so language is not a barrier. The whole site is translatable with the click of a button into every major language. And we've also built out this tool that will translate videos. Like if you were teaching a course, Ken, on entrepreneurship, for example, and you had videos that you were in, it will translate, voice clone, and lip dub those videos so that it's a very realistic presentation of you speaking in Portuguese or Chinese or Arabic. So you can access, lots of folks. And if your course isn't translated into my language, I can translate it so that I can hear and see it in my native tongue. We've got a chatbot and an assistant that is always present on every page to answer questions and help you navigate the site. We've got live teleconferencing for teachers, and we've been interviewing dozens of teachers just in the last 3 weeks, like several dozen teachers on a myriad of subjects. So we're going to be having live classes, and We've got a huge library of ad-free, safe educational videos that are again standards aligned, but have
Mhm,
no
mhm.
no pop-ups of people doing
Right,
inappropriate things you don't want your kids to see. We got hundreds
right.
of thousands of education videos. We've got a whole parent operating system called Firefly Compass that gives them guidance on the legal parameters based on their state where they live.
Mm,
There's a Bible app. There is a field trip planner where you can type in your location.
I love that.
It'll give you several hundred
Yeah,
options of field trips within a 100-mile radius of where you
yeah.
live. There's there you know there's like 15 apps just within this one app. So we just got a ton of tech. We're bringing in a full homeschool curriculum soon. So Firefly really is being built to be an all-in-one encompassing platform that gives
Mm,
you everything that you need to get started. And there's tons of value there for veteran families who've been homeschooling for years. It's so they can take advantage of what we're doing. Homeschool co-ops can join as a chapter and get preferred rates and be able to access all of the technology.
mm, mm.
And we just launched in January. We've already got a growing community, and it's really an exciting time. We're full speed ahead, and just the future looks very very good for homeschooling. There is a massive worldwide movement that is just kind of booming. It's Homeschoolers are the number one fastest growing demographic in education, but
Mm,
they are the most underserved. And so we are aiming to change that. And to put a finer point on your question, what would I say? I would say first, don't be afraid, believe in yourself, overcome the apprehension, and do it for your kids.
yeah.
Like we learned early on, Ken, that I mean, we've only been homeschooling for a couple of years, and we were, I say the proof is on the playground.
Yeah.
You take your kids to the playground, and all the homeschool kids behave one way, and the public school kids behave another way.
Mm,
And it's like, who do you want socializing your kids? Socialization is always the big objection to
right.
homeschooling. Oh, your
Yep.
kids are going to be weird. They're not going to be socialized. Well, let me tell you something. I don't want my kids socialized by the
Yep.
public school system and what it has to offer. Like, I, I can see what that is doing to kids. I
Right.
don't want that. I would rather my kid be awkward
Yeah.
than be throwing Molotov cocktails at cops. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I love that. One of the things you guys do is help parents understand that there's a better way to do homeschooling by moving away from just the mechanical, like we talked about earlier, the mechanical kind of process of school. Here's your class, do this, take this test. Okay, you're done. Memorize. Walk us through, tell our audience a little bit about what does that mean to move away from kind of the mechanical side into being able to have purposeful, faith aligned interaction in teaching.
Well, first of all, the public school system is really modeled after the prison system. If you're
Mm,
being honest, if you really examine the structure of a typical day in the public school, number one, it's modeled after the prison system where you are forced to you're confined to a space. You are just obeying authority all day long. You're rising when a bell rings. You're being conditioned to be an order
mm.
follower. Like you said earlier, you're conditioned to be like a factory worker.
Factory workers.
We
Yeah.
and John D. Rockefeller, entered the scene, in the early 20th
Mm,
century and redesigned it that way on purpose. He didn't want a
mhm.
nation of thinkers. He wanted a nation of workers. And we have seen the fruit of that over the last 100 years, and it hasn't done people very much good. Like you said, there's this huge aptitude for genius at the early age, and the public school system just drowns it out and crushes it
Right.
as you go through. Um, but in a typical homeschool day, you know, most public school kids are getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to catch the bus, and then they're at this place for 8 hours. Somebody else is essentially raising them. And in homeschooling, you're raising your kids. You're spending
Mm,
time with your kids. You're answering their questions and guiding them and exploring life with them. And homeschooling doesn't have to be school at home. It can take on
mm,
many, many different iterations. There's a lot of different styles. We began with the unschooling approach. So the unschooling approach is essentially where, you're giving them the core stuff. You're teaching them to read, teaching them to write, teaching them, basic math when they're little. But you're asking them, what do you want to learn about today? And they say, oh, I want to learn about this. So that when they can have some ownership in the direction of what they're learning, they develop a love of learning, which is
Mm.
so critical in self-directed learners, and really is setting them up for success to be naturally curious, inquisitive people who are
Mm.
seeking out answers, who not who hate school and hate learning and just want to satisfy dopamine addictions with screens.
One of the things I think about, Jordan, I think when people think homeschool, that's what they think. Well, I'm going to be stuck in the living room with my kids watching the TV, or we're going to be stuck around our kitchen table with our faces in our MacBooks, and we're doing that. But I love how you said, like, there's so many different options and so many different different ways that you can homeschool your kid. How does, for those parents who may be interested and they're listening to you today, how does Firefly come alongside of them and help them navigate that journey?
Sure, sure. I mean, Firefly is really designed to meet all the major pain points, right?
Mhm.
So a big problem with homeschooling is that, and I think most homeschool parents probably have felt this at one point or another, is you're having to patchwork together
Mhm.
all these different resources from all these different areas that can be extraordinarily expensive. And we have certainly had more than our fair share of that slices out of that pie. It
Mhm.
is extremely expensive, and so we've priced it very modestly to make it accessible to people,
Mhm.
so that they can afford to do it. And we're aiming to, as I said, answer pain points, and what that means is provide the resources all in one place, so they don't have to go searching around. And an example would be like within Firefly Compass, we,
Mhm.
as I mentioned, the legal help. So trying to like find out like the most up to date information on homeschooling from a legal perspective, and the hoops you have to jump through and the forms you have to fill out and when they're due. All of that is right there in Firefly. And we're members of HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. And so we link you directly to the most up to date information. We're providing you with the ability to create curriculum. We're not just giving
Mhm.
you curriculum. You have the power to actually create courses for your kids and not
Right.
have to do months and months of research to compile data and then plug it into a course format. Our course builder does that for you based on your prompt. And then, but then you have the ability to customize it and add your own flair and
Right.
put your love into it.
So
Um,
question, Jordan, you guys made the decision on your first child to homeschool. How far in the process were you guys with your 7 kids? How far in the process were you before you said, "Man, there's some gaps," and when God really began to speak to you guys about, "Hey, I want you to create this to help." How far in the process was that when you talked about pain points before you started realizing this and you guys knew, okay, God, you calling us to do something about the problem and these pain points in homeschooling?
Great question. So that was actually about 5 years ago. So we'd been
Okay.
homeschooling for quite a while, and had been doing the things that all homeschool families do, patching everything together, spending crazy amounts of money on curriculum and all of these things. So my wife was getting her master's degree in teaching, because in Washington you have to be like, to be legally compliant, you have to be under the supervision of a licensed teacher. So she said, "Well, I'm going to become a licensed teacher." In the process, we realized just how bad it is, and because what they're teaching teachers. And my wife says to me, we've got to do something about this. And I think a lot of people would have just been like, this is just the way things are. Keep your head down. Just tell them what they want to hear, get your degree, and be done with it. But we're not those people. and and the Lord really convicted us in the spirit to do something. And so we started brainstorming. This is like 2020, 2021, about what we could do to be a blessing to homeschool
Mhm.
families. The original idea was to open up a center, and
Mhm.
that would provide resources and help and
Mhm.
tutoring. And we realized, like, we're very rural. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be a business that would do well out here. Maybe in a city, but not out here. But I've been in the blockchain space for, a long time, since about 16 years. And I understand the technology, and I said to her, like, what if we did a decentralized sort of system where people could join from anywhere? They could create chapters. We could give them access to curriculum and all the different tools that would help them. And there could be a crypto component to it. There's a lot of ways we could work it. This is at the time. And she said, I love that idea. She's like, but whatever we do, we have to call it Firefly. And I said, why? And she said, because we have to teach kids to be lights in all the darkness. And that really resonated with me and inspired me. And I ran with it. And, several years later, we raised the money to build the platform. And as of January, we've just launched, January of 26. We've launched. Our mobile app is in Google and Apple stores, and it's a free download. Just create your account at fireflyedu.org, and you'll have access to all of these tools and resources.
I love that. What have been some amazing stories you've gotten from people who have come alongside and used Firefly, and it's been transformational for them in homeschooling their children?
Well, it's brand new, right? And so we're getting all of that data now. I would say that we're getting stories from people that are saying that this is a godsend for us. Like we've been praying for a solution. Most people that I have talked to about Firefly in the last couple of years, as we've been building and developing it, is there's a very emotional response that comes from people who've really been praying for some kind of path forward for their families, because they don't necessarily know what to do. And we've been through this. Like, we know the market because we are the market. We are your typical homeschool family. I mean, maybe the 7 kids isn't exactly typical, but we are.
I've got 4 and 3 brand new ones in my second marriage, so I have 7 as well. But yes, no, it's not typical.
Oh, congratulations! That's awesome. So people, like, the general sentiment is people have been looking for this solution, and we have listened to them and built this thing to answer their concerns and provide them with the things that they need to move forward. So, we're aggregating data now, but I mean, the overwhelming response has been completely positive. And
what excites you about this launch right now, Jordan? Tell me what's kind of stirring in your heart. You guys just launched it in the last 45 days, 50 days.
Yeah.
Kind of what's stirring in your heart, and what excites you about the possibilities that God's given you guys?
Well, I feel like, I mean, it's just some context. This is a great question. In context, like, in my heart, professionally, I have always wanted to do things that had some positive impact for mankind. At my core, I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, and my mandate is to serve Him and to build God's kingdom in the world. That is what I'm after in everything that I say and do. And I've used music to do that for most of my adult life as a professional person. That is what I've done. I've been all over the world. I've put out albums. I've done, thousands of concerts, and I'm, I evangelize, and like that is who I am. And I talk a lot about freedom, right? And freeing your mind from the mental slavery that is a product of the culture that we grow up in today, in the modern culture. But I feel like, in retrospect, if I'm being honest with myself, there's more of an opportunity with Firefly to affect real positive change, to turn things around, than I ever had an opportunity with music. Like, Firefly is a way to help just millions of people potentially, and we're not only just looking at the English speaking world. Homeschooling is exploding in South America, in the Spanish speaking Portuguese in South America. And we are very much like eyeballing South America as a place to try to bless and to have a presence. I mean, we're international. We're looking at every continent and every country. That's why we built it to be accessible in every single language. So I'm really excited about that prospect, and carrying the gospel and the message of liberty to people all over the world. Like, that is so exciting to me. because I mean, in terms of music, my music is all in English. You know,
Mhm.
uh, you
Mhm.
know, so many curriculum out there are just in English, and so we have the ability to break down all of those barriers and reach people all over the world. That really gets me excited to get up in the morning.
So I've got two questions. One I'm going to save to the very end because it's a question God just kind of put in my heart for you that I guarantee you've never been asked. Number two, um, in the curriculum that you guys are doing now, how important is AI, and how much do you guys use and teach on AI in your curriculum that you have?
That's a great question. So there's a couple ways I need to answer this to satisfy the whole question. One, you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s when all of the movies portrayed AI as this force that was going to take over the world and
Yep. War
and
games, Terminator, all of them. Yep.
yeah, so so that has been like, the stigma around
Yeah.
AI growing up. And I was very skeptical of it when it came out. And I think that there is a larger agenda at work with the people that are putting out these AI systems. But I see AI as a tool. It is not alive. It is not a consciousness. It's a computer program. I mean,
Mhm.
that's essentially what it is. It's just able to aggregate all human knowledge. But it's not coming up with its own knowledge. It's aggregating all things that humans have come up with. It just can do it at a faster speed.
Mhm.
And just like the steam shovel increased productivity, like it could do the job of
Mhm. Mhm.
50 men, just like the cotton gin did, just like the internet, changed the world. It was a technology, and it created far more opportunity than it destroyed. And
Mhm.
so I see AI the same way. I think that it has the potential to be a real problem if it's not used responsibly. And so we don't want kids using AI, as to learn and to do their work for them, because that's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing kids just using ChatGPT to write their papers for them,
Yeah.
to answer their questions for them, and the public schools don't have a solution for that problem. With Firefly, like the AI components are all parent facing. They are meant to help parents to be productive teachers, to streamline the teaching
Mhm.
process for parents. So we utilize AI in the course builder. We utilize AI in the translation components. We utilize it in our teaching assistant and tutor, which is our little character Freddie the Firefly. Um, but those are parent facing tools, student facing tools. So we really believe in humans teaching humans. Now, I'm a seminary student, for example. Okay, I'm pursuing a master's in divinity, right? And so I don't in the online an online college program, you don't really have a professor that you can talk to. You can email them once in a
Mhm.
while, but you don't really
Mhm.
get to talk
Mhm.
to them. And so I never even imagined what a helpful study partner that an AI could be. Because you ask ChatGPT
Right.
about any biblical question, it knows the Bible front to back, and it knows every single perspective on any particular scripture you could ask it
Right.
about.
Yep.
And I would say, like, using that as a study partner to have a deeper understanding of scripture when I didn't have a human being to really bounce ideas off of. I'll tell you what, it increased my faith incredibly. It increased my understanding, theological, historical contexts of
Mhm.
scripture exponentially, and really brought me into a whole new understanding of scripture. So I think it is all about how you use it, and we approach it from a place of caution, the way that you would with fire. Okay, fire will burn you; it can kill you, but it can also keep you warm, save your life, cook your food. And so we are approaching AI with the same sort of respect and caution, knowing that it is a powerful tool that can increase human productivity, but at the same time, if you allow it to take over, that would be like really, really
That's
bad.
good.
So
I heard, Priscilla Shirer talk about fire one time. She said, "Fire in your fireplace is beautiful. Fire in your living room floor will burn your whole house down and kill your family."
correct. Correct.
It's about parameters. Crazy question. Never asked this before. I'm sure you probably never. You said something just a while ago about, you said something regarding, they're trying to teach our kids a certain way, and it's our responsibility to have our kids really, especially as Christ followers, in the lane that God wants us to. The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Same here. Yeah.
How real is that movie and what we're living in right now?
I think that is that movie is a metaphor for awakening to the reality of the world as it actually is.
Mm,
If life is actually a matrix, it wouldn't be machines generating it. That we live in a reality that God has generated, that He has created, and we are here for a time, um, but we are shielded from the truth by nefarious forces that seek to control every thought that we have, to make us essentially subservient and to subvert our freedoms at every opportunity that they have. And the red pill moment happens, and from the movie, we know Neo's offered the blue pill or the red
yeah,
pill, and the red pill happens, which I think is happening to a lot of folks right now with the
yeah,
disclosure of certain documents that have come to
right,
light that have
yeah,
showing people what's really going on. And I've been
mhm,
aware of this stuff for many years. I woke up to all of that reality in 2006,
mm,
and went through the same thing that everybody's going through now. This is a major red pill moment that's happening right now in our country and around the world, but it's happening on a mass scale. There's mass trauma happening with all of these realizations. But the Matrix is all about, like, you know, taking that leap and being willing to accept, a reality that is different from what you thought, to have the bubble burst in an extremely traumatic way, but then to reconcile, I was born for such a time as this, and I'm standing up to fight against wickedness and principalities in high places.
it's good.
And part of that is withdrawing your consent to have your children raised by the state. And
Mm,
so, and taking on the responsibility that God gave you to raise your children yourself, and to find a way to do it. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But again, why we built Firefly was to make it easier. It's never going to, okay, Ken, it's never going to be as easy as dumping your kids at an indoctrination center. It's never
right.
going to be as easy as that. It will never be. But it doesn't have to be as hard as many people find it to be. And that's really what we're aiming to do, is to make it much, much easier and to be a blessing.
Yeah, I love that, guys. We interview some of the top faith-based entrepreneurs in the world on this show. Just had John Maxwell on, Gary Breck on, some other guys. I love your perspective. Number one, I knew you'd never been asked a question about the Matrix. It literally just popped in my head. I'm like, because literally that's what we're living in. And that red pill moment is where we literally go, okay, God, I want to see what I'm supposed to see. Understanding that, God, you're in control of it all. Jesus, you're in control. I don't have to be in control, but I want to see it for what it is, so I can really and authentically make a difference and live the purpose that God has gifted me. Jordan, thank you so much. What's the best way for our audience to connect with you, find out about Firefly, and some of the incredible things you guys have got going on?
Sure. We've got a lot going on right now. So you can contact me directly at Jordan, Jordan, at fireflyedu.org. Okay,
Mm,
that's my email address. You can reach me if you have questions. But if you go to fireflyedu.org, just take a look around. There on our pricing page, there's 3 different tiers depending on the size of your family. There's a big discount for doing a full year up front. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. There's also a customer service line that you can ask questions to. Um, we have a big thing happening where we have produced a feature-length animated film that is it's a Firefly branded film
mhm.
that is a sort of a crypto-themed superhero movie. And we're doing an online premiere on March 22nd. The film is called The Book of Atlas, and we're going to be putting out a lot of stuff about this film. It's a very exciting project. and we're selling about 10,000 tickets for the premiere. So it's it's a very exciting marketing tool for us, but also it's a really fun project. And we're going to be releasing more and more features. We're going to be bringing in more and more curriculum. Firefly is just getting started. This is just version 1. And, you know, over the course of the next like 6 months, we're going to be increasing our offering substantially. And we're just so excited to be able to be at this point where we're finally launched. We're in Apple and Google stores. You can download our mobile app on any device, and we just love to have you.
I love that. I'm sitting here looking at your landing page now. Congrats on taking the step, dude. Congrats on answering for you and your wife, answering the call, not just going with what was easy, but understanding that I have a call and appointed to take care of my child's education. It's not for me to, as a parent, to hand my child over to anyone for them to be educated. It really is our responsibility and our role. And I just want to say hats off to you, dude. And thanks for being a part. Guys, Jordan Page, fireflyedu.org, fireflyedu.org. Social media handles, Jordan?
Would be Firefly_edu on X, capital F, capital E.
Got it. Yeah. So you guys go check out my guy, Jordan Page. You can Google him too. My guy does worship. He's got a movie coming out. He's got a ton of stuff. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, guys, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Proximity with Ken Joslin. Can't wait to see you next week.